All right, folks, here we are at the Calhoun Depot. Check it out. This depot was built about 1853, so here we have another original depot to the W&A. This is really cool. Again, as I said earlier, in one of the cities, maybe Cartersville, there's not many of these left, so this is a cool stop for sure. And the town, can't really see from my position right here. I'll go up there in a minute. The town it seems like it's a really cute little town as well. Maybe not as well put together as Adairsville was, but it seems like there's a number of shops and restaurants and a lot of fun things to do if you come up here for the day. Here they have, you can see, they've got their historical marker, which tells the history of the depot. And a lot of this history, of course, is the Great Locomotive Chase. I don't know if we've looked at him before, but here's Mr. Andrews, the guy that stole, the leader of the Raiders who stole the General. Here we have William Fuller, who was, of course, the conductor of the General originally, and whose train was stolen in Big Shanty, who then led the pursuit on foot, and then by pushcar, and then by Yonah, and then by William R. Smith, and then by the Texas. So here we are in Calhoun. Now, when we left Adairsville, let's see, Fuller had gotten on the Texas, heading backwards, chasing after Andrews. Now, when Andrews got up here to Calhoun, he again gets stopped, again by another train. And this train I mentioned back in Adairsville, I found the name. This train is the Catoosa. It's on here. So the Catoosa is sitting there in the way, idling, and actually it was about to pull out. It was about to pull out heading southbound when the General came racing up the tracks because remember, the General Andrews had told the conductor of the Texas that he was going to go no matter what, even if there's another southbound train. So he took his chances of making his way up to Calhoun in time before the Catoosa left the station. Well, the Catoosa was just about to pull out of the station when the General came roaring up, and it sat there and it thought, what in the world is this guy doing? He's off schedule and he doesn't have any passenger cars with him and he's running ragged. So of course Andrews gives his spiel, his smooth talking spiel about being an ammunition train and you got to move over so I can get through. And the conductor of the Catoosa did just that. He moved over. Andrews doesn't stay here long once that happens, and he continues northbound. So as he continued northbound, about a mile and a half north of here, he stops again and decides he better tear up some more track to buy himself some time. So meanwhile, while he has stopped and has started tearing up track, not far behind him comes the Texas roaring up as fast as it can in reverse. And as you can imagine, everybody here in Calhoun at the station here, they're looking pretty slack-jawed and bug-eyed at this train roaring up the tracks from here, from this direction, in reverse. And Fuller hops off the train when it gets here and tells the conductor of the Catoosa the story. His train's been stolen, that guy was lying, and the Catoosa says, well, I thought something was amiss. Well, sure enough. So the Texas continues on its way north, and this time with the Catoosa behind it. So now you got two locomotives going up north on the tracks towards Resaca. All right. And Andrews and his men had hopped off about a mile north of here to tear up that track, but they didn't get very far before they heard the train whistle of the Texas and put eyes on it. And he's coming up the tracks. So immediately they jump back on board, and Andrews says, all right, well, let's uncouple one of our boxcars and leave it here as a, leave it in the way so that they'll run into it and hopefully jump tracks. So he does that. He uncouples the boxcar and takes back off up north towards Resaca. Well, the Texas comes up behind, and luckily, since the Texas was in a reverse position already, he was able to slow his roll up to the boxcar and actually hook it up to himself. So then you have the Texas going backwards, pushing a boxcar now up the tracks with the Catoosa behind him, and they make their way. Now, also on this path, the raiders were going to come across another, I believe before Resaca, they're going to come across another bridge, and their goal was to burn that bridge. So we'll see if they actually get to do that when we head up that way. Actually, they roll through Resaca. They don't really stop in Resaca. The general doesn't. So I don't know if I'm going to stop in Resaca today. I may continue through that to the next stop, which may be Tunnel Hill. But before we leave, let's check out this cool depot here. I've been walking around trying to pay attention. I don't really know what they use this for. Let's see. Constructed in 1847 by the W&A Railroad. Renovated in 96-97. Looks like it may be some sort of a welcome center or CVB, maybe Chamber of Commerce. I drove past what looked to be like a Gordon County Historical Society in a house up the road, so I don't know if they have a museum here as well. They do have a cool caboose over here. You don't see those very often. I have to explain those to my kids. And as we walk down over here and go look in the caboose, still railroad history, you know, it's important. The railroad, of course, is still very active and very important to our state's economy, and it's keeping us going through this quarantine too. I can tell you, it's keeping all of our supplies, all our Amazon purchases, all the supplies we need for our hospitals and our first responders, all of that. The railroad is playing an important part in that, I can assure you. And of course, CSX now runs that. So here's a little bit of a view of the town. Here's that caboose. And as you walk along over here, there's actually, I don't know if I can get a good shot, but there's actually a cute little main street going up the side over here. That looks like it's got, again, some restaurants and some shopping. Fun little stop. Another little North Georgia town that I have never visited, and I will have to come back to. A lot of spots today, and I hope you all do that as well. I hope that these videos are encouraging you once we are released from quarantine, encouraging you to get out and explore and bring tourism back to all these areas. I know that they are in desperate times right now. All of us are. Luckily, at the Marietta Museum of History, we are owned and operated by the City of Marietta government. So we have that safety net, and we are so grateful, so grateful that they are keeping us employed, keeping us open. Well, no, not open to the public, but at least we're still working. We're still keeping, doing the things we need to do to keep the museum moving forward. So this is not the last stop, believe it or not. We're going to keep moving forward, and I believe my next stop, like I said, I think I'm going to roll through Resaca. If I see something there that catches my eye, I'll stop. But I think I'm going to roll through Resaca like Andrews did, and we'll see what happens at Tunnel Hill.